Taylor Swift just recently passed $1 billion. Is she the greatest of all time? I think so. What do you think, Kyle?
No. What's up, everybody? Kyle Williams here. I'm here to talk about and review my 2023. I'm very happy in some respects, and I'm also very frustrated in some respects. After 2022, I wanted to go into this year just having a better all-around year. And to give you guys context, for 2022, I had, made, call it 800,000, 900,000, and then proceeded to give half of it back by the end of the year. So I finished up 2022, like 480,000, which is still great. Like, I'm not knocking that much money. That's awesome, right? It's the doctor's salary. But considering I was up almost double and then giving it all back, I did not want that to happen going into 2023. I can successfully say that's happened. I'm up just over 800,000. So I wasn't as high as I was in 2022, but I have not given it back. And mainly the reason why and how that is possible is because I finally had taken and accepted the risk, or the stopping the risk of just losing pretty much whatever you wanted, right? There was never a max amount I was ever really willing to lose. Now, that doesn't mean I was in the past, just losing tons of money and getting lucky all the time. I always did have stop losses, but in previous years, I'd just be willing to lose way more than I really should have. And in this year, I really put a stop. Like, I was never more than 10% of my account. And that really prevented me from taking some very much bigger than I would have wanted losses. I did take still too many big losses in 2023, which is the frustrating part, but it prevented me from taking losses that could have been much, much bigger, like top. And, I had lost, just over 100 grand. Now, again, that's way too much, but I actually put a stop to that, right? Had I not put that stop to that, it could have been 200, 300, who knows, right? I lost $250,000 on HKD last year, and that's kind of what led to this year. I need to put some kind of stop. After a top, I went to, I don't need to be 100, it needs to be only 50. And then I lost 50 on CVNA. So again, I'm still taking these losses I'm not really happy about, but they're cut off, right? It could have been so much worse and so much bigger had I not done that. And I think that's what allowed me to really keep a significant portion of my year. I will keep all of it, really. I've pretty much made 800, and then I've gone sideways the second half of the year versus giving it back. So that's something I'm really, really happy about. And this is where I've done positively or done well through most of my career, is that when I've given, A+ setups, I really do a good job of pushing it, making sure I'm taking bigger risks and just on bigger opportunities. Now, granted, part of that is that, and what I need to get better at going into 2024 is just because, say, I have a max stop of 50K. Let's say I never want to lose more than 50,000. I've noticed that sometimes that will be my A+ risk. What should be a max end all be all, to protect yourself stop loss, has turned into, for me, something I'm just willing to lose on what I think is the best of the best setup, which is not the case. My best of the best setups, what I'm living at, should be 10 or 20K, and a 50K is if I get stubborn, if I stop losing and follow my trade plan. That's the last safety net to really stop myself completely, not to just be willing to risk it because I can, emotionally handle it, right? Doesn't mean I have to. And so that's kind of what I want to go into with 2024, is that just because I can lose 50K and be okay, doesn't mean I should or want to. So when I'm going through a losing streak, the things that I think I look for or how do I get out of it is, one, I want to know what does that losing streak actually consist of? Is it multiple losers? Is it one big loser? Is my win rate much lower? A perfect example is my November. My November was probably one of my worst months of this year of 2023. And I had to sit down and what does this drawback or losing streak consist of? It consisted of one huge loss on AMC. And then right after AMC, which made it worse, it consisted of me losing 5 times in a row, then one win, then 5 times more in a row, and one win. And these losses weren't huge. I was just losing 2 or 3K at a time. But again, you lose 5 in a row at 2K, that's 10 grand. It doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. And so I think the first thing that I do is I recognize that aspect of it. And then once I identify that, then I like to actually go into the specific trades of okay, well, why am I losing on this trade? Why am I losing on that trade? Are they all the same setup? Are they different setups? There's edges that will play out where one setup not work, multiple times in a row. But if you then add on the fact that you then add, say you have one setup and you add on 5, and all 5 setups give you 4 losses in a row. Well, now you have 20 losses, right? Because once you do that, then you actually can have a sense of control of why it's happening. And then you can then further the next steps into correcting it, and either means not trading the setup better, or just accepting the fact that your edge is gonna bring these periods of drawdowns. And if you've been trading or know your setup long enough, you also know there's a positive end to it over the long term. So,
ever dreamed of trading like one of the Clovers? Well, it all starts with the right broker. Clover Trading and Centerpoint Securities have teamed up to supercharge your trading experience by joining Unlock the Power of CP Edge exclusively with Centerpoint. We're talking top-tier trading tools worth over $6,000, all at your fingertips. Get ahead with real-time scanners, cutting-edge news, and a tailor-made trading journal. Experience trading like never before with superior short inventory, personalized support, unmatched trade execution, and interest on your idle funds. Plus, you can get competitive pricing that fits your trading style. Ready to elevate your trading game? Click the Clover Trading link in the description below to get exclusive deals with Centerpoint Securities. Now let's get back to the content.
What I'm willing to do when I'm in a losing streak, it can be very positive or negative. Let's start with the negative. I've found myself in losing streaks, what I'm willing to do is dig that hole deeper. Again, this dives into revenge trading. This dives into just emotionally trading. Again, wanting to make your drawdown back versus just trusting how you got there in the first place, which is the strategy that ideally, hopefully proven to work for you. I've always said this is like my gift and my curse of how I emotionally handle things. So that's something I've really had to work on too, of really, again, not stopping myself in sort of P&L, but emotionally stopping myself from being willing to always just do one more when really it's like, no, you're done. Like you just should just stop right here and then walk away, which can go into the positive. It's like willing to actually step away from the market, willing to actually, emotionally detach, go do something outside, go enjoy other areas of your life. Like I've always said, it's important to have other things. You don't have to be this worldwide extraordinaire. You can have one other hobby. Separating your self-worth and who you are as a person away from the markets, because as traders, you can just tie your entire identity into this world that is so fun and awesome, but it can just suck you in. And then before you know it, you found profitability over 4 or 5 years, but you've realized you've lost any other hobby or interaction you've wanted before you found the markets in the first place. So I think that's super important to remember that trading is not everything. And if you're in a drawdown, that's the time to maybe go do other things that bring you fulfillment and happiness. Maybe it's just friends and family. That's a big thing for me. It's like I just spend time with people that I love. Yeah, beyond trading, there's always going to be ups and downs in life and trading and in relationships. I haven't really studied it much. I can't really say I know this well, but I've always appreciated stoicism, being able to just be stoic and just good day, whatever, bad day, whatever. One of my favorite basketball players is Kawhi Leonard. Not because we went to the same college, but because he'll score a point and he'll be like this. He'll turn over the ball, he'll be like this. Like he's a zombie, he's a robot. And people make fun of him for it because he's just such, it's always right here. It's never up, it's never down, it's just right here. So I definitely admire and appreciate that. Granted, I'm human. I do have really excited days and really down days to some degree. I always remember, especially in trading, just because I made, say, my new best day the day before, doesn't mean my new worst day can't come the very next day. The past is now irrelevant, and now it's what's happening with me right now, because it's too easy to then, pin yourself to what happened the day before, whether it's good or bad, and then let that affect today. But again, it could be on the exact opposite side of your loss gets worse. So I really try to go into the next day separated from the previous day. Things I look at or ask myself when I'm on a winning streak, I definitely, just in the same of a losing streak, what is working and why is it working? Not only if it's a market aspect, but it's maybe a discretionary aspect. Again, an A+ setup comes around and I know it's an A+ setup in real time. Let's triple my risk. This is worth it. And then I make a gain that's triple as big or 5x as big because it's so A+. I'll be like, okay, that was the right decision. I try to combine my decision making along with what the market's giving me, and it's is this going to continue? And if it does, keep doing what's working. I distinctly remember in 2020 and 2021 where this one particular setup, which was a panic dip buy idea, I knew it had changed. I knew it was still working differently. And so I just pushed it and I milked it and I made more money long than I had ever had. Now, granted, it ended up stop working and that led to one of my bigger losses in my career. But once that happened, I knew, okay, it's done working. And I still had made more than I would have had I not tweaked that and I saw that, winning still happening in a different way. You're really analyzing both ways. It's just one is, if you're losing a streak, you want to tone it down or correct things. And if it's a winning streak, it's you want to push it or correct it in a more aggressive way. One of my biggest goals when I first started trading was to eventually create some kind of financial, I don't say portfolio, but an entire city, if you want to call it, working community of my own self, where that literally all of my assets are working in different ways that eventually will pay myself to just live freely forever. In a very perfect ideal, it doesn't work that way, right? Ideally, but I've always wanted to trade with the sense I don't have to trade, right? And right now I still kind of have to trade. You might see oh, Kyle, you're a millionaire. But I do. I could stop trading for 5-10 years and be fine, but I'm 27 years old. I'm not gonna be able to live off what I have until I'm 70, especially with the things I wanna do, and I'm a little bit higher end. I like doing some expensive things, right? So I still feel there's some little sense of I have to trade to get where I wanna go and achieve my big goals. And I know part of that is also funding other things that will then pay me to where I then don't have to actually trade. If I get to a point where I have assets that pay me, say, call it $500,000 a year for life, let's call it, then it's okay, I don't have to trade anymore. I think in the future, I'd wanna start investing in maybe some funds, give my money to other people who I can trust to, again, diversify the portfolio. And I think, a goal would be, 6 figures of passive income would be really a good start. So if we go into 2024 and being an election year is usually historically positive for the markets. And if you're a trader, no matter what market you trade, it's gonna trickle down in some way, shape, or form. So let's assume, we're gonna get a healthy, forgiving market, opportunistic market. If you're a beginner and you are first starting out, you're day one into trading, be wary of making money early. And And I know you're gonna be like, well, that's dumb, Kyle. That's why I started trading. Yes, I agree. Like everyone wants to trade to get rich quick. I have dozens more stories or people I've heard of. They're tripled their account the first month they've traded. They just killed it. The problem is you've only now learned what it's like to win. And the traders that make it are the ones who know how to handle and learn from and deal with how to lose. And so I've seen many times a trader will have an incredible first, call it quarter, first 6 months, first year even of trading. And they think, oh, this is so easy. I'm gonna quit my job. I can live like, if I do, this happens in the next 20 years, I'll be a billionaire, right? The reality is a learning curve or some kind of unforgivable period is going to come your way. And when that happens, it's like getting the rug pulled out from under you and you don't know how to handle it. And it's very difficult, especially if you can say you took like a 10K account to 100K. Now you have 100K to lose. That's way more emotionally and financially risky than starting that same 10K account and losing half of it in the beginning, to know what that pain's like, to know what that learning curve feels like and going through, to know how to actually take a loss. And then after that learning curve, actually then turn that, say, 5K account that you lost 50% in into 100K. It's almost like that's saying like, however long a house or a fence is taken to build usually has a stronger foundation. So if you build a house in a day, the likelihood of it falling apart in the same way of making profits so quickly, you're gonna be so much more susceptible to giving it back versus if you really learned and went through your learning curve, you're gonna have that much stronger of a foundation that when you do get to a tougher period, you've already been in one, which is the very beginning. And I'm not saying purposely lose in the beginning. Like if you win, great. But just keep in mind if you're winning too much or you're winning a lot and you think this is easy, that's the time to rethink things because it will happen. When they've seen the worst from the beginning, it's way easier versus seeing the best and then immediately given the worst. It's a whole different mental shift that most people don't go through.